And a very warm welcome back to you to the Intel Extreme Masters San Jose live from the SAP Center for live coverage of our StarCraft 2 tournament over the next 2 days. We'll crown our champion, the first ever time we've been in North America in a sports stadium. We're in the NHL hockey arena, of course, occupied by the San Jose Sharks. Talking of Sharks, we don't have any on the desk right now, but instead we have Day9 and Kalaris back with us. How you doing, gents?
Dude, I'm doing great.
Are you a shark or not?
No, I'm a human man, Paul.
Oh, I thought you were Sharknado.
A common mistake. Well, that first series was like insane.
Yes.
Between Rain and True, and then of course seeing Snoot advance to the round of 8 is always really exciting. Because who doesn't love a last standing foreigner in a tournament?
Absolutely.
But QXC still is there in Group D.
Yes, good point. I'm glad you pointed that out. Otherwise, we'd get into trouble with QXC because he gives us a hard time for that. James, what do you think so far?
Really good
Group A,
series.
fun game.
Yeah,
fun
very
group.
I did like the first series a little bit better, obviously, because it was like a bit more funky, a bit more diverse. But the second series, to see Snoot being able to prevail was really, really nice as well. So that's overall pretty cool.
Okay, we're going to get into our Group B games now, and we're going to head into a team. What's up with you, Todd?
Just Apollo making me laugh a little bit.
Apollo's making you laugh off camera. See, even when he's not on the desk, Apollo is actually on the desk. You just don't see him. He's actually kind of like invisible on the desk. We're going to move into Revival versus Polt now. This is a very interesting kind of dynamic between two teammates, between two players that have played each other, not that recently, but this year anyway, and it didn't go the way that we thought it would go back then. Polt obviously going down. He is a champion. He's been a fantastic champion this year and last year, and seemingly every year since 2011. Massive personality. Great to have him here. But Revival's got something about him right now, guys, hasn't he? Has he got that ability to beat Polt?
That element of surprise maybe is what he has best going for him, because we haven't seen him much showcase how he's been playing like recently. And even though they met 8 times and Polt won 6 of those times, as you mentioned, the last time that they played, it went Revival's favor, but that was 8 months ago, so we can't really look into that too much. But there is the fact that Revival is able to beat Polt when he plays well, and here so far he's played well in this tournament. He won his opening match.
Yeah, I mean, back at Burbank, as you're seeing Revival right now, he played very well. We didn't necessarily expect him to go through in his game, but he did, and I wouldn't say it was completely against the odds, though, was it?
No, I don't think so. The thing is that Revival's one of those guys that can always eke out wins and stuff, and being in the position that he's in, being on CM Storm, and I imagine maybe he plays quite a few games against Polt and stuff like that from time to time. It doesn't necessarily mean that they do when they're on the same team and stuff like that, but I can imagine that they probably do. So he's probably well versed in this matchup as well, and he probably knows what to expect from Polt.
Okay, Sean, Polt.
You know, I just have to lean towards Polt in the matchup. I mean, I have suggested that, Polt would beat Revival, and then again, last time they did wind up losing, but the fact of the matter is that Zerg is having a really hard time against Terran these days across the board.
Who isn't having a hard time against Terran?
Basically only Life. Like when you look, and when you look at the play that Life did and ask, well, what can Revival do to succeed?
Yeah.
We're starting to see that it's big risk style openings that Zerg are succeeding against Protoss with, like doing a little bit more 3-hatch before pool, doing a little bit more of assuming you're not going to be aggressed early, because so many Terrans are trying to do the greedy stuff. But I do think that Polt has the edge because Widow Mines, again, are stronger. We've seen Polt do well, even with the Widow Mine nerfed. So, I mean, pretty much I feel like everything is going against Revival in this.
Okay, I'm going to give you guys something to think about and ponder maybe a little bit, but I'm going to give this to Todd first, because I know you've got such a sharp mind, you'll know exactly what you want to say to me afterwards. In previous versions of the game, Sean's like, already okay, let's wait for the sharpness.
I'm ready for Todd's sharp mind.
Yes.
Here it comes, Todd.
He's mocking you, by the way. That's mockery.
I was skeptical.
No, I'm preparing everyone for the moment. Here it comes.
It's fine. I've got your back on this, buddy.
Okay.
In previous versions of the game and different updates, when we've had a race that we've maybe seen taken advantage, there is a period of small domination to start with. And then what inevitably happens is they kind of get a bit cocky. And they think, oh, we're so dominant, we can just do anything we like. We can build greedy builds and we can still win. Are Terrans starting to get there?
Maybe some of them, but I don't think it's Captain America's case here.
Okay.
I don't think he's one of
I think he's a
those
more
guys.
sensible... I mean, he's a brain player, isn't he?
I mean, remember his interview, actually, that you did back at the studio, where he said, Terran versus Zerg right now, I know that Terran has the upper hand.
Yeah.
He said by a little, by the way, which I liked. I like that. And he said, as long as I don't do anything too bad and I just do what I have to do, like here and there, the standard things, I know I'll win when he was facing Sejong. So I think he's going to want to look to do the same here up against Revival.
Yeah, it's a critical thing, isn't it? When you know that you're okay and that you can, like he says, almost ignore what the other guy does and just concentrate on what you're doing, that's got to be so much easier.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly completely agree with Todd's analysis that Terran players were being greedy for a little bit, and they need to back it off just a touch. Because, I mean, going Command Center first into Hellion, that's great, that's fine. But don't go Command Center first, and then go for another Command Center, and then go Hellion, and then be surprised when you lose to that Ling Baneling all-in. We're seeing the greed for Zergs not just keep pace with Terrans, but because of how Larva works, you have the flexibility to, on a dime, make a decision.
If I'd been playing Ladder recently, I'd have thought that Day9 had been watching my build. Popular.
Wait,
at my level. Yeah.
Do you go all in like every game?
Yes, he does.
Every game. I know players who do that.
Not every game.
Oh, well, okay.
9 out of 10.
9 out of 10. What is the case in that one macro game? What goes through your head then?
The all-in doesn't work and he has to transition, but the guy's very far behind.
Yeah,
Sorry, Paul.
and that's as good a time as any to head down to the stage where the players are ready, the proper players in this case, where we're going to have a great match between two teammates, Revival and Polt.
Thank you so much, guys. You know, they're both sponsored by CM Storm, but I don't know if we can call them teammates. They do live separately. They don't practice together very much. But they were teammates once back in the days of TSL, and that's why I'm so excited to bring you this next match. First up, we have from CM Storm, Polt. And his opponent, also representing CM Storm, Revival. You both look so stylish. If I can ask you to please shake hands. Let's get this match underway.
Thank you very much, Rachel, and hello and good afternoon, America. I'm here with my best friend, Rotterdam, once again, from Burbank over to San Jose, as we get ready to start Group B here of our first game. Very excited for this one, Captain America versus, a very old friend. They've known each other for a long, long time.
They've been playing against each other for a very long time as well, Sean. Their encounters go back all the way to 2011, 2010 perhaps even. Of course, traditionally, Polt has had a better record against Revival. But the last time they played, that's already a while ago. That was WCS America Season 1. And it was a really big series as well because it was the quarterfinals. Of course, Polt won Season 2 and Season 3 in 2013. Going into that quarterfinals, I probably filled in a 3-0 or a 3-1 for Polt. But no, of course, that was a difficult matchup for Terran as well. It was a difficult time. Revival won that series pretty convincingly, 3-1. That is the last time they played against each other. So this is definitely more than just a match for Polt. He would love to win this and, of course, get a little bit of revenge against his old teammate as well, and perhaps still sort of teammate.
Well, this is a very important game because they've already played the first game in the group stages, if you've been following the tournament already. If you hadn't known, now you do. If they win this, they're going through to the round of 8. It's a big game here with two very different stories, I like to look at it as, because you've got Polt, he's Captain America, he's the favorite to advance from this group, he's won multiple tournaments, he's finished in the top 8 12 times this year. Incredible to do that, but this guy has only been to a top 8 in a tournament once, and it was that very tournament that you described earlier this year in WCS America. He's had an up and down career, and I like to bring this up because he's a forgotten Intel Extreme Masters champion. Of 2013, he won the Intel Extreme Masters Shenzhen. He's had an up and down career, and this must be such a big moment for him on the stage, Roddy.
Was that against the Liquid Hero? It wasn't against the Protoss.
Yes.
No, it was against Oz.
Yes, Oz.
Ah, okay.
So a big moment for him now on the stage.
Yep, especially because that tournament back then, that was sort of like, man, Revival finally got his breakthrough performance, and from this point on, he is going to keep posting results like this. You can always fill him in the top 4 or the top 8 of a tournament, but it's been very up and down, and it's been quite quiet around him over the last few months. That's why when he was playing earlier this week, when we were doing the group stages in Burbank, or at least one match of each group in Burbank as a warm-up for this tournament, or as an early start, you could say, his win over First, I think it was a little surprising. Of course, a lot of people will be afterwards like, oh yeah, I can see Revival beat First. There's nothing wrong with that. Well, if you take into that recent DreamHack into consideration, where First had a pretty good showing, and how quiet it has been since WCS America Season 1, like that's almost at the start of the year of Revival. I think that was a pretty big upset. But hey, maybe Revival has been working real hard to get here, and maybe this is going to be another one of those Shenzhen runs.
Let's hope so, because it would just revitalize his career. He's definitely had a lot of ups and downs over the years, and this is the time where he can come back on top. But let's talk a little bit about Revival up against Polt here. Polt's coming into this as the favorite. There's no doubt here that everyone's looking at this as a Captain America victory to go through to the top 8 and challenge the likes of Rain, to challenge the likes of Hero. What does Revival have on his side to potentially upset this? What does he need to do? What does he have in his advantage coming in?
I think he's going to have to play very solid. I think a small advantage he has is that Polt played some TvZ earlier this week against Sejong. Of course, he was able to analyze those games. He could look at it. He's like, all right, so this is perhaps what I can sort of expect. What he also has is that Polt plays in a lot more tournaments than Revival does in general. So it's not just the series against Sejong from a few days ago. It's a lot of information. And if you know how your opponent likes to open up in TvZ, if you know sort of his openings and you know a couple of crucial moments of the game, you may delay those few drones for a few extra bailings at first, and then later on you even things up. And if you survive certain stages of the game against Polt, then Polt can be a little stubborn as well. He will still try to force the issue or push the issue, even if his early game wasn't as good as it perhaps should have been to follow something like that up. But, you know, I'm trying to make it better than this. In the end of the day, Polt is really good, and Polt is really good in this matchup, and Revival is going to have to bring his A++ game, as my other British friend, the Muslim, would say.
Well, here is the map order, of course. Still just a best of 3 at this stage of the tournament. Merry-go-round our first, King, Sejong Station second, and then Catalina here. A great, I'd like to say, map order, and great starting map here for Polt. This is increasing the difficulty for Revival coming into this.
I agree that the mid of merry-go-round is so tricky for a Zerg player. It's so easy to put Widow Mines in good positions over there. And of course, if a Zerg would take a fort like towards the middle, well, then you can always add in a tank or 2, but you don't even have to. Even just Widow Mines on the low ground, then you can elevate a few Marines, because you don't have to straight up kill that fort base as long as the Zerg doesn't mind from it, you know. You can already sign for that if you're a Terran player. So it's going to be extremely important for Revival that he somehow controls the middle. We saw Sejong attempting run-bys all the time, was remotely successful with it, because that first game wasn't really going all that bad for him. I think Revive is going to have to do the same. You can't let this just be like a 50-50, you take your side, I take my side, and then let's meet in the middle, because you're going to lose that fight as a Zerg player if you run into a bunch of mines and if you're fighting off creep. So Revival is going to have to really dictate the pace of this game, and he's going to have to try to throw Polt off his game, and of course make sure don't take silly early economic damage from a couple of Hellions or Hellbats whatsoever.
All right, well, Polt undefeated so far in the Intel Industry Masters San Jose, went through the American qualifier, didn't drop a single map. Came into the round of 16 in group stages, defeated Sejong 2-0, undefeated, continuing on. As you can see, we're now getting ready to load up game number 1 of Group B here between Revival and Polt. And I'm excited. Can Revival topple Captain America? Let's find out. As up here to the top, left-hand side of merry-go-round spawning. Here is the blue Terran player, sponsored by CM Storm. Make some noise for Polt!
And over here on the right top side of merry-go-round, we have the red Zerg player also representing Cooler Master Storm. It is Revival.
And is this the tournament where he can start to really climb back up? Because in a very difficult era of StarCraft 2 right now, we're seeing a lot of players give up their hopes and dreams. There's too many good players right now. You've got all these Casper players, Pro League players dominating the scene. But here we have Polt starting this one up on the map that he's favored towards as well, by the mind. But he's going to open this up with a proxy.
Yep, and what kind of proxy will it be? He's so far sending out just a single SUV, but the other one could still follow, of course, the one that's building the supply depot. Curious, I did not expect this. I did not see this one coming. Starting off guns blazing over here. That goes first, 11, number 1. Yeah, and he's just going to send out another SUV.
No, he's not sending out another SUV here.
Okay, now he starts building. Okay.
So he's got a barracks in the center of the map here.
Repair opening, probably?
Well, I think he would have already thrown the gas down here, Rotti. This is a bit of a... Is it a mind game? What is this?
I don't know what it is.
He's going up against a 14 spawning pool. This is
not good for Polt.
I don't exactly know what's going through Polt's mind here. an incredibly
This is
different...
just an economic 11-11. Instead of going 11-11, you get a few more SCVs, then you still get your second Rex. So he's still going to get a lot of Marines to work with. He's still going to be able to put on a lot of pressure.
I think he's walking into a wall here with the spawning pool down already and the delayed barracks, delayed Marines.
I think you're onto something, Sean, but that's of course something Polt couldn't possibly know. He couldn't know that it was not going to be a hatch first. And the good news is for Polt that this is not 11-11, because if it would have been, I think he would have been in even more trouble. Now at least he has some sort of an economy behind this. It's not the greatest, let's let's not play any games, but it's something that I think you can still work with if you force out a bunch of Zerglings. If maybe Revival takes a bad engagement against a Marine or two more than he actually expects to see, then I think that's something that Polt can still bounce back from, but he has his work cut out for him, that's for sure.
Well, only 2 Zerglings are being built at this moment, and that is obviously not enough to deal with any form of 2 barracks being played. He hasn't scouted, he doesn't have an Overlord 2 scout currently. It's only 2 Zerglings. Yes, mining gas is helpful, but in the very instant that this attack happens, it isn't. It helps later on. Polt realizes there's no scout.
He should just hide.
He's got to spawn and pull first. He's going to force drones out, and Polt, who definitely looked like in a bit of a weird scenario, has addressed what's going on. And this is going to be a big surprise here for Revival. He's going to be in a lot of trouble when he finally finds this out.
Yep, Willy even. I don't think
he's got back with his Zerglings. He still has no idea. A fantastic moment here for Polt. He's going to stretch forward here. He's got gases coming in. He's got a follow-up planned as well. But right now here, Revival sees this for the very first time. He's got Zergling speed on the way. Not going to be helpful. How much lava does he have? Because he's currently not building any units. Okay, and he's Spine Crawler coming in.
Gonna get a spine. I wonder if Polt is gonna try to get a bunk drop over here on the high ground. I don't think normally you would ever do it. Okay, he's gonna actually build on the low ground. Maybe that's like the safety bunk, and then he will still get one on the high ground. Revival still has tools to work with this. The second queen is about to pop. We see the work count, it's dead even right now, but he has to be very careful. Every single Zergling is important. He wants to buy time for the spine crawler, but I don't think Polt is gonna give him that time. That hatchery is starting to drop a little bit of HP already.
Yep. All Polt's got to do is kill off this hatchery. He's already got a follow-up to this. He hasn't rushed down a command center. He's got gas coming in. He can go up towards Hellions. He can go up towards Banshees on one base. It doesn't matter. Revival is going to make a stance against it, but I really think if he tries to save the hatchery, he's going to lose a lot of his units.
Well, as long as the bunker is not up, I believe, Sean. As long as the bunker is not up, I really think that the Revival can save the hatch.
But Zergling speed not too far away.
Yeah, exactly, and he already has quite a few Zerglings, because this has been slower than normally as well. This is Polt's moment. He's going to focus the spine crawl. I do believe we have 1 transfuse available.
Yeah.
1 bunker does go up, so this is indeed getting very, very tricky. There goes that transfuse. So from this point on, you're going to be careful with that spine as well, because it's very, very important.
All right, well, Revival is just all gung-ho for this one. 6 additional Zerglings waiting for Zergling speed to finish. The Baroness about to complete as well.
Yeah,
can he break out?
He has a lot of units there. Gets to go case around there on those 4 or 5 Marines that were a little bit too far forward. He's going to run across the map with a few Zerglings, but the factory, I believe, already finished up. Yes, indeed. So just a single Hellion, maybe 2 Hellions, should be enough to take care of that.
Well, will it be? Because if that Hellion somehow gets surrounded, Polt makes a mistake, this could still work out here for Revival. Yeah. Polt continuing to pressure a little bit, but it is an all-in virtually at this point for Revival.
No, the command center is, of course, super late for Polt as well.
Yeah, but the counter-attack with Hellions and Medivacs and anything here is huge.
But what Steam or stuff is still so far off. I agree. Of course, this has been a huge commitment, and Revival is indeed going to go all out with this. Now you can call it a semi-all-in, but even if this doesn't work, it's still technically 2 bases against 1, and he already has speed. So here we go. These depots will go down because the baneling count is more than high enough. More Zerglings streaming across the map as well. I think actually this is going to be it for Polt. I don't think he has any units here other than that 1 Hellion. And these SCVs, Sean, they will
get a couple of good hits there from the Banelings, and the SCVs are struggling. There's only a single Hellion. There's nothing out. A tank is trying to be researched, but supply blocked at the wrong time here. All the SCVs are going to go down, and from what it seemed like pretty decent here for Polt, has turned around, and this Zergling Baneling attack has crippled Polt. And Revival opening up with the most important victory here on a map that favors Polt in general. Brilliant play. Only 4 SCVs remain.
Yeah, and a few more Zerglings streaming across the map with just that single Hellion, that solo on HP. I think this is going to be it. Polt will tap out. Revival wins game number 1 on merry-go-round after perhaps being a little bit fortunate, opening up with the spawning pool against this, what was it, 11-14 Rex proxy from Polt. But beautiful execution by him, and he stayed very patient, very calm, got his spine crawler, waited not until he has like 6 to 8 slow links, but no, he waited until he was able to jump on those Marines immediately. And yes, there was a bunker on the high ground, but that was the only thing there was. Polt was transitioning out of this, so it's not like the Marine number kept on growing, because if it would have been, I think it would have been a little bit more difficult to jump on Marines when there is also a bunker and there is a backup bunker. But the Marine count, it wasn't low, but it was also not non-stop Marine production from Polt.
Well, Polt now finds himself in a very difficult position because he entered this series as the favorite. He's decided to open up the way that he did. He's now almost, given this away to a certain degree here, if you want to look at it that way. And now he's one game away from going down to the lower bracket in this group. This is Revival's taking 2 maps. This is perfect for him.
I mean, even though these guys, they're not super teammates, they don't live together, but perhaps this is something that Revival has just been looking into. Because early this week, we asked Solar, no, it wasn't Solar. Who was the Zerg that asked? Symbol. Symbol. All these Zergs, man, all these Korean Zergs with their ass, like Saxbury, Solar, Symbol. But it was Symbol. I was like, Symbol, why did you suddenly not go hatch first when you did it 5 times in a row? He's like, well, he think I go hatch first many times. So this time, early pool. And I think this might actually be the same. Revive might be like, hey, Polt knows me pretty well. He knows that I go hatch first 99% of the time. I wouldn't be surprised if he tries to take advantage of it. So you know what? I'm going to open up a little safer this game. So really well done there by Revival. I think that's pretty much the only thought process there is.
All right, well, getting ready for map number 2 here, as Polt needs to win the next 2 in a row if he wants to compete for that first place. Or can Revival finally get to a top 8? April was the last time he got one. Winning this would get his 2nd of the year. Very important moment here as we get ready to jump in. And it's going to be King Sejong Station, if I remember correctly.
I think you're onto something, Sean. As our final map, of course, if we will need a Game 3, is going to be played on Catalina. It's been a very successful year for Polt regardless. He didn't win as many tournaments as he did in 2013, but he still had so many good runs, and of course he would love to continue it. Even if this man over here on the left top side would lose his series, he's still not out, but he's going to have to fight even harder to advance. Give it up for Captain America himself, Polt!
And down here to the bottom right-hand side of King Sejong Station, opening up this series with a victory. It's the Red Zerg. It's Revival.
I'm expecting Polt to play a lot more standard this game, Sean. I'm expecting him to fall back to what he showed us earlier this week, and that is, of course, make a few Hellions, maybe morph them into a Hellbat to put on some pressure like that, have a quick stim behind it, doing this, of course, all off 2 bases, and then follow it up with just solid 3-base macro play, then have your 2nd engineering bay ready, get all the big upgrades going, and then just try to get your own 4th base while denying the Zerg player's 4th base. I know that's a whole lot of information, but it's basically how most of Polt's his games play out. He likes to at least see what's going on. He doesn't just like to be in the darkness. He likes to be always active with a few units out on the map. That gives him confidence, gives him perhaps a false sense, but definitely a sense of security. You can't always be sure because sometimes people try to trick you just on that.
Hatchery first coming out here for Revival versus Command Center first from Polt. Changing it up quite drastically here, Roddy. Yeah,
that's a very economic opening, so we'll see. But, it doesn't really change anything in the grand scheme of things. He can still follow this up with everything that we just spoke about. It's good for Revival as well. After that first game, he could be like, oh man, I dodged the bullet there. But I highly doubt that he's going to try to do something like that again. So this time, I will go hatch first. Still going to get the extractor, but the more economic opening for Revival. Revival seems to be a little bit ahead when it comes to mind games so far in this series, Sean.
And he can use that to his advantage coming into this mid-game here too. Does he want to try to bust Polt here with a typical Baneling build, a Roach Baneling attack? He sees it as Command Center first with his Overlord. He's already decided to get that extractor nice and early on, so it could be an angle that he takes to close this up 2-0. He has that game in hand.
Yeah, and we've seen a lot of Zergs earlier this week, both Hyun and Symbol, just being a little crazy in ZVT. Just at very random moments, suddenly decided to make 24, 26 Zerglings, and that is a massive commitment. That's not something that you can bounce back from very easily. But they've made it work, and I wouldn't be too surprised if Revival tries to do something like that, because Polt can be a predictable player.
But on the flip side, Polt isn't a player who takes a 3rd command center very early on in this matchup, which is more difficult to pull off the roach baling type of attack, because if you don't get the third command center, you have more production and therefore have more units, which obviously is going to be better at defending. So I guess it comes down to what he scouts with an Overlord. If he sees a third command center in play, he could go for it.
I'm not expecting a Roach Bane, but a big swell of links trying to avoid the units in the middle of the map at first, and then trying to surround 2 Hellions that are about to pop and run into the main base. Something like that I don't think would be a huge shocker, but Roach Bane would be very surprising against someone like Polt, who's not super greedy in this day and age of TvZ, and in general doesn't really die that often against Xerxes either.
Well, as you can see, Revival not mining any more gas at this point, is going to be looking for his third hatchery in a couple of seconds' time here as he starts to build up towards that. And of course, you want to be able to get that down pretty early so you don't have a hard time against the Hellions, which are on their way, or will be very shortly, as the factory and reactor has been started. Second gas coming in for Polt.
Yep. I will keep a close eye on the production tab now as well, because this is one of these moments where if Revival would ever decide to make a lot of links, it's pretty much now. They would hatch right when speed is ready, and we know that Zerg players like to get away with that, but so far we see nothing but drones. The second gas may indicate that Polt wants to go for some Hellion Banshee, Sean. Is that an option?
Hellion Banshee, could be Hellion Banshee, Hellbats as well. A couple of different ways he goes. Could go.
Or he could just bank a whole lot of gas for the sake of it. And he's like, ha, I'm making the commentators look so bad.
That's right, man. He banks all that gas and then goes mech.
Yeah. No, he banks all that gas and then actually just like researches Stim and only makes Marines, nothing else.
Saving it for later.
Yeah. And that would be a good mind game as well. You know, in the old, there were a lot of all-ins actually where you take gas, but then it's just a fake. You pull the workers from your main and you saturate them in your natural.
Right, yeah.
I remember Bling, our other British buddy. Bling had a build like that a few times on Ohana. Worked like a charm every single time.
Works like a charm. This one is going to be for the Banshee. And is he going to invest into Cloak here? Yes, he will. So, Hellion Banshee, pretty good strategy overall against Roach baling attacks. Of course, the more Banshees you have, the more easier it's going to be to hold on, and of course then you can go and use them aggressively to kill drones while you get back into the game. Polt having a look around, he sees the third hatchery down at a very early time, so it's more likely that he isn't going to be attacked from 2 bases, of course.
Okay, with openings like this, Sean, and now I'm not a super expertise Terran player, I have not been in this position a whole lot, but I do feel that Polt is kind of forced to at least do some damage with this, because his third command center is pretty late compared to this hatchery.
Correct,
he's investing in Hellions and he's investing in Banshees, units that in 3-4 minutes from now on are not going to be all that important anymore. So he can just sacrifice his units. Spore crawlers are going down in every single base, like Flo is showing us.
I'm pretty sure that Revival sent in an Overlord, which you may have missed, because there's one missing from the top far left-hand side that I think has gone in to spot this, so he's well aware of what's going on.
He seems to be on the money so far. Well, we'll see. These Banshees, they will always find maybe a weird angle where they can still get a couple of drones, but he can't just let it idle above a mineral line because there are spore crawlers. But here we go. It's still one of these weak spots where he's going to be able to get a couple drones. An okay start so far for Polt. Gets 3 drones. He's going to go for number 4 as well. Successful start of his arrest, but I still feel he needs a little more than just that, Sean.
I mean, 7 in total if you include the 3 spore crawlers that have to be built. And I think there's a 4th one as well. So it's a lot of damage dealt early on. And when you build spore crawlers, you mustn't take damage from the Banshee almost at all.
That is correct. That is correct. And is it just a single Banshee? Did he perhaps cancel Cloak? Can we take a look at the upgrades real quick? Yeah, okay, he canceled Cloak after it got scouted, I think, like you mentioned, Sean. So not a huge investment anymore for Polt. And then suddenly the 7 drones that you just mentioned, the 4 kills and the 3 spores, yeah, that's not all that bad at all.
Yeah, it's pretty good actually, I think here. But we do see the Banshee still coming around to the main base as well. It's going to do even more damage.
A little sloppy there.
Yeah, it's gotten even about 3 kills, so very good here from Polt, very good.
Yep, extremely well done there by Polt. A little sloppy by Revival, not dropping the Transfuse on the Overlord, because also I think if he drops the Transfuse, the Viking chases that Overlord a little further, gets in range of the 3 queens, the 3 queens die, and you can happily go back to spreading your Overlords around the map again, which is so important against, you know, as we all know, these medevacs with the stimmed bio units in it that Polt will start flying around with real soon. So that may have seemed like a very small thing down in the middle of the map, but extremely unnecessary. 3 queens with so much energy. If you can take care of that Viking, well, that was not guaranteed, but at least save your Overlord and push that Viking back for a while.
I think the state of the game is very similar. I think the Banshee was a great success here for Polt, but at the same time, Revival has got earlier upgrades, but I don't know how much that's going to help him at this point. The Spire is pretty fast as well. We'll see. As Banelings have been launched up, we could actually see Revival take a lead in this game if these Banelings were able to get... Banelings were able to get into this mineral line at the north.
I mean, he doesn't feel too confident to go up to 4 bases now, though. And normally this is a facing game where the 4th base is so important. These Banelings are going to wiggle their way north of this empty
right now
assimilator.
Is so distracted in the middle of the map here. A lot of SCVs go down as in the center here. We missed a fight. We missed an engagement. Polt was there, moving his units around, was not looking and paying attention. And I think that was pretty good there for Revival.
Yep. That's good, but in the end, I still feel like he needs a little bit more. He's getting a macro hatchery, correct? I guess in his main, he's getting it right next to the main base. But okay, now he's going to go up to 4 bases. 11 minutes and 47 seconds. You could say he's a little late in this matchup, but other than that, things are going okay-ish.
Yeah.
But it will still come down. And what do you think about the fact that he takes it in the middle of the map? I know he has better creep spread there, but do you think this is going to be a harder base end to defend than what we Zerg players normally see do? And that's in the left bottom side.
It depends if he is the one defending, though. This could very easily turn aggressive with 2-2 upgrades coming up. If he doesn't really invest too heavily into the longer game, which is taking the 7th and 8th gas on that center base, I think it could get pretty sticky here for Polt.
Well, the Widow Mines are starting to spread out. Of course, this is something that Revival will see because of the creep tournaments, but he also has to worry about drops. This is one of the phases in the game where, as a Zerg player, it's going to be extremely difficult not to take a whole lot of damage from drops, and now he's not going to be able to keep those tumors alive. I think this is a little tricky for Revival because running down a ramp is going to get very, very difficult. I believe a medevac is heading to the main base as well, as we can see with 7-8 Marines in it. This is where Polt normally excels, Sean.
Yeah, pretty good Baneling hit. I mean, Widowmine hit onto the Banelings there while the drop is going on at the same time. So Polt already up 20 supply. He's pulling Revival around here. And as you can see, Polt hardly taking any losses in this game yet, has dealt out so much.
The Spire is taking a lot of damage as well. And if these are just Zerglings and if no Banelings are arriving, I think this Spire... Oh, no Transfuse either. I think the Queen had energy. Man, the Revival's falling apart over here, and Polt is just taking a massive advantage.
Yeah, these Banelings doing absolutely nothing here, and Polt doesn't take any losses and is absolutely walking over this map in the center field here. 2-2 upgrades are about a complete Revival that will help in this engagement, but still, a very good position here for Polt.
Yep, extremely good position. Revival has to worry about these rocks as well. Well, actually, Polt is going to take care of it for now, but that 4th base in the middle of the map, I think is going to be so difficult to defend. Polt is just going to put more and more pressure onto it. They're going to spread out more Widow Mines at the bottom. There's not going to be any creep spread, and then Revival will always feel forced to keep his units around here, which allows Polt to just harass every single other base out there. Maybe the Widow Mines can do some friendly fire. Oh yes, well actually there we go. A couple of Marines did die. This might trigger a Revival to just go for it, because Army Supply, he still has more than enough to work with.
Oh, trying to clear in up Widow Mines, but he's gotten hidden by that Thor twice now. A lot of these mules very glow, and Polt is waiting.
Yeah, but like Revival had his moment, I think, when he has his +2 upgrades, but now Polt is going to have his +2 upgrades as well.
Yeah, Polt's going to push this.
Yeah. Things are going to get more and more dicey. He's going to roll in with 23 Banelings, and a few more of them are morphing. I love how he's not using the Banelings on the Tor. So actually, this seems to be going alrighty for Revival, but he needs still a little more, and he has more, Sean.
He has quite a few Banelings here, and he is going to push this back. Great news here for Revival as he pushes Polt off a chokehold type position, but not too far back here. Is Polt going to re-establish his position on his high ground, as he has a 4th base and will continue to do that. I think we missed more Banelings potentially put there.
No. Those were the Banelings from early on. He just never repaired the SCVs.
All right, well, another push going to come in here for Polt. As Revival very high on Banelings, but lack of creep spread now in this center area, which is obviously going to be good for Polt.
He's again morphing 17 Banelings at once though. Revival has pretty damn solid production, as one drop does get shot down in the middle of the map, or excuse me, in the main base of Revival. While Revival is going to roll in one more time with the Banelings. I feel the Baneling number is not as high as it was before, but neither is the Marine count. Revival actually getting another good trade over here. Now he takes a 20 supply lead in his game, Sean.
Yeah, he's going to push his back, and the command center has landed. You what, Roddy? As he pushes forward, and the Widow Mines do a lot of damage, and even a great pickup from Polt with the Marines in that medevac as well, retreating back to that Thor. Revival is going for it though. He's waypointing all his units over. He's looking to try and take the 2-0, but Polt will continue to hold. If this turns into a planetary fortress, this starts to heavily favor Polt in this type of fight when they're both in the center. This is looking good, but he needs to establish this high ground.
It started off so well for Revival, a little over-eager there. That one Widowmine hit pretty much every single unit that was in that army over there. The Tor again getting a couple of good shots off. That command center is running very low on HP. The Zerglings are preventing the other units from getting close to these Mutalisks, but no Mutalisks are left anymore.
Revival's losing everything trying to destroy this army here, and that was not a good fight and not a good trade. The command center lives, and the majority of the Marines as well. And now this is very easy for Polt to take this 4th base, to establish it, to turn it into a planetary, to continue pushing units over, to further his upgrades. And the momentum that Revival had just lost in that fight is huge.
Yep, Revival has about a minute or so left in this game, maybe a little longer to fight with even upgrades. From that point on, it's going to be a 3-3 bio army for Polt, and we've all seen those TvZs so many times. It doesn't mean that it's over, because Banelings can still turn things around, but it's going to be extremely difficult for Revival to get good trades. He started off so well that I just got a little too excited. The Tor got a massive shot off, and of course the Widowmine killed a bunch of Zerglings and also did damage to the Middlers. So in the end, a very, very expensive loss for Revival, while he did still win that first fight pretty convincingly.
Widowmine does a bit of self-damage there to these Marines, but Polt in fantastic position here to look to tie this one out as a drop on this right-hand side, but shouldn't really be able to do too much. There's a lot of Mules here.
Don't really want to fly into with your Mutalisk into a bunch of Marines like that. I think he just lost 4 Mutalisk over there, taking care of 8 Marines. Those are not trades that Revival truly wants to make, I feel. I mean, he's mining over 8 Extractors, but he's been morphing so many Banelings throughout this game as well that you can't just throw away 4 Mutalisk like that. That was a little sloppy, Sean.
Revival's strong point in this game was the mid part. I think that's why he took this base, that's why he was so heavy on Banelings, and now he's lost his momentum, and Polt is just driving this one home. 5th base being established here for Captain America. He's got a huge income, and with these upgrades that are very close to finishing up, that's when he's going to push forward. He's just building up that army slowly but surely, and when these upgrades complete and his army is closer to that 200 supply, he's going to be in great shape.
Well, Revival can perhaps get one more big fight with 2-2 against 2-2, and he has a lot of Banelings over here. Those 8 Extractors have really been paying off, but yeah, it's still so hard to run into that planetary fortress. Overall, that was an okay trade, I think, for Revival. Just, you can't go all the way. You can't roll into that planetary fortress unless you have a completely dominating army.
I'm pretty sure Revival knows he's running against the clock right now, but that was a great chance to maybe catch Polt off guard, to turn the tide once again, but unfortunately wasn't enough to be able to do that.
As a matter of fact, gets shot down by the Spore Crawler. Mullers will take care of the drop at the same time. Okay, these Banelings again connect with the majority of the bio units. I must say his Baneling control so far, Sean, has been on the money.
Yeah, Polt maybe messing up as well a little bit here.
Yeah,
could have picked those units up, but either way, the game continues on. Polt on 5 bases. His 3-3 upgrades are going to complete. He, of course, would have loved to have a bigger army at this point, but he's going to buy himself some more time. Just sit back, build up, and then try the very same thing he's been trying for the last couple of times. But that does give Revival a bit of a chance back again.
Overlord is going to spot this drop on the right side of the map. If I don't really, I mean, I like the drops, don't get me wrong, but I would prefer the drops when Polt has a very intimidating army in the middle of the map as well, because that's where it gets really tricky. And I feel right now, the only thing the Revival truly has to worry about in this game is this drop over here on the south side of the map. We do see Polt moving his army in the middle of the map as well, though. Well done there by Revival. Shots that drop down. Good job there by Polt, trying to save these Marines for as long as possible. This time he does pick him up. There's a Widowmine there as well. One Tor gets picked up.
Oh, this could be a chance. How many Widowmines are there? Because they're slowly being detonated one at a time here.
Well done.
And this could open up an opportunity here for Revival to go. Remember, he has no hive, he has no infestation pit. The longer the game goes, it has to end soon here for Revival if he wants to win.
He's down 20 supply. If he's going to run up the ramp, he needs the absolute best Baneling connections of all time. A couple of these Tors are very low on HP, but I don't think that this is going to be enough. Good splits there by Polt. Showing off some Terran beauty over here, Sean.
Absolutely. Well done here by Polt. He stands strong at this point, and Revival's mid-game has come to an end. Good game is called, and Polt will tie this series up. 1-1.
Excellent game there by Polt. A lot better than the previous one. I love the opening as well with that one Banshee. The starport got scouted. It saw that that Cloak was on the way. He cancelled Cloak, but he still forced out those drones or those Spore Crawlers. And then he picked off a couple of drones in a natural. Later on, flew into the main from a very weird angle. Got 3 more drones for his money. So a single non-Cloak Banshee in the end killed 10 drones. Well, that's a fantastic investment, Sean.
Fantastic investment. What do you think is going through the players' heads at this point? You think any of these are starting to feel nervous? You think it unfazed at all?
I don't think nervous. I think Polt feels a little bit more satisfied now, and he's probably like, man, why did I go for that silly building game #1? I don't need to do that. I'm Captain America, man. Like, I can just play straight up. Right. And I think Revival is probably just going over a few engagements in that previous game, and also like, okay, so you're playing some tricks with the Hellions, but you know, I don't think this was like a game that's like, man, like I just don't know what just happened. These are the type of soccer games that you just walk away from and you kind of know where it went wrong in a few minor moments, few small engagements. Of course, Revival, he did very well in a few fights, but then he got a little overeager. He chased too far back because it was always like a trill or the parade of Terran units coming in, and at a certain point he just couldn't push the parade further, and then the parade started marching on again. So I think Revival is just going to have to pick his, not really his battles wiser, but, you know, deciding when it's enough or should be satisfied a little quicker.
All right, well, I thank you very much, Ronnie, for your thoughts again on that. We are going to pop to a quick commercial break, but when we come back, we will find out who will be first place in Group B.